For a little while, and I am joined by one of my favourite mates who I haven't got to see for a long time, Duncan McPherson. Firstly, mate, love the backdrop. That looks sensational, and welcome back to Campbell's Comments, mate.
Yeah, well, welcome to COVID-19 at Aldebaran Park, but yeah, backdrops are backdrops. There's got a bit of glare on it, but quite appropriate that we might be talking about international trotting, because that's the race colours for when Maori Time went up with Todd McCarthy up to the elite block. So we sponsored the horses, you know, and Fred Cruz kindly decided that we took a set of shoes off her. We framed it up, and a few of us have been very fortunate to be the benefactor of Fred's kindness, if you like, and takes pride of place in my office down here in Melbourne.
We'll give Fred a little bit of a plug at the minute. I think he's got a couple of first starters, maybe at Bendigo on Tuesday night. I was just going through the form. I know a couple related to that mare. Yep. Whereabouts is that mare at? Just very quickly, is she back in Australia?
No, she's at. We had the great pleasure of leaving her up at Manhammer-Staterri up at Ecaro, just about 100k north of Stockholm. And the good news is that she's in foal to Redley Express. So with a positive, and the better news is we had a foal by Redley Express this morning. We had a Aldebaran Teal, who's a mare that we raced up there, and we've got a Charlie Denoya colt from her yearling. She actually foaled another colt for us this morning. So there was great celebrations with Johan Hallander and the team at Manhammer-Staterri this morning. 2:10 a.m. was the official time of the great birth in Sweden this morning. So our broodmare band up there is going really well, and Keela Haley Boko's 3-year-old filly ready to hit the track. So couple by Redley, couple in foal to Redley, and it's happy days in Sweden.
It is. You love it over there, and one of your great frustrations, and I know talking to you, is the fact that we haven't internationalised Australia lately. We did it with Maori Time, and we done it with Sparkling Success and a few of the others going forward, and it was starting to build a lot of momentum. Things have changed now, and it's actually looking very, very good. Initially with the announcement of the Great Southern Star, but the flow-on effect that's going to actually have for Australian racing, and also then European and potentially, I would imagine, even American racing.
Well, there's two parts to that. This hat is Aldebaran Walkabout. He actually, as your listeners may remember, he won one of the big kindergarten or the Group 1s down in Kentucky. He's a 2-year-old. Didn't have a great 3-year-old year, but we gelded him, and his mind's back on the job. He's a Muscle Hill out of Aldebaran Turnpike she's down here. He has his first race start. He's drawn 2 at Poconos tomorrow about lunchtime our time. So has trialled well. Usually have Todd McCarthy, or not Todd, Andrew McCarthy on board. But we've got someone else going up to Poconos tomorrow. But with a draw 2-hole, we're pretty confident he can forward tomorrow. And I mean, you talk about internationalisation. He's born and bred down in Australia. We've sent Aldebaran Boko, who was out of Encinau, down here, out of Father Patrick. She's gone under the Boko Farm banner to the Lexington yearling sales in October this year up there. And there are others doing great jobs with their Australian trotters that have been sent over there. So America knows we're on the map, and they're up and watching. And with respect to your international view, the Great Southern Star, congratulations Harness Racing Victoria. I mean, a great announcement. Great to see the original format taken on, and I think it's exciting times. And with the focus of herd numbers in Australia being one of the fastest and largest growing herd jurisdictions of trotters in the world, I think things can only get better for us down here. But the international focus, I mean, I think that announcement came out at 8:30 on Friday morning. By 9 o'clock, I'd had 3 inquiries to be either buying or selling horses down here, and 10 people on the email trail. So, it's hit a nerve with Victorian harness racing and particularly trotting participants.
Just elaborate a little bit more on that. You said you've had a few phone calls. Are they phone calls from people wanting to buy Australian stock and maybe race them, and also then potentially bring some stock over here as well?
Okay, so the original format, there was always invitees from the Northern Hemisphere. There was always one provided to Europe and one provided to America. And there are some people, as we well know, I mean, Boko Farms is down here. We've had other representatives down here. Dennis Engelbo's been down here. So, and we sponsor the Gold Locken Junior Race Series up in Aldebaran Park does up in Sweden. So there's been the announcement got publicity up in Europe and in France as well. Anders Lindqvist knew about it, and they've just had midsummer and recovered from the winter or summer solstice up there. But no, they're very firmly aware of what's going on down here, and this is international news, and that's how it's being treated. So, as I say, credit to Harness Racing Victoria, and I'm sure that the results on the 6th of February with the All Trotters night, where you've got 5 Group 1s, 2 APTS graduate 3-year-olds, and the 2 heats into the $300,000 final. I think there's over $600,000 worth of trotting prize money just on the one night, and they've created an all metropolitan trotting night. And you couple that with some future announcements and the Redwood at Maryborough in November, and trotting's coming to the fore in Victoria. So credit where credit's due. So to Dale Brown and Dale Monteith and his teams led by Stephen Bell and others, well done, job well done, and we'll make sure over the next 6 or 7 months that we work in conjunction with them, and I'm sure everybody will, to ensure that we've got international participants coming down, not only for the races but also for the trotting sale on the 7th of February.
We'll keep on to the Southern Star just at the minute.
Yeah.
The importance of two races on the one night. As far as the format that we've had in previous years, just gone by, where it's just a straight out race. One, it's uniqueness and all the rest, but it actually does put us back onto that world stage, doesn't it? Because it is being done worldwide, these sort of races, and it showcases how strong these trotters are and how well looked after they are. Because if they're not looked after, they can't. There's not a hope in hell they could do 2 races in the one day anyway. There's going to be a lot of people will be out there saying, "Oh, how can they do it?" They'll be vetted, they'll be everything like that above board. But these horses will just do it. They'll love it, won't they?
Well, I think there's a number of things that have happened since the Southern Star originally was conceived down in Victoria and Australia. We'll say Australia because it's a national product. The genetic improvement of our breed is going to assist in the 2-heat philosophy. So I know for a fact that there are 3-year-olds in Australia who their trainers will aim them as 4-year-olds to race in the Great Southern Star. 2 trainers have rung me, and they are specifically going to train, their 3-year-olds with the extension of the season. Obviously, there are races available both in New South Wales and Victoria for these horses, but essentially these trainers are going to start to train their horses to try and do the 2 race night on the 6th of February to win the Great Southern Star. And obviously, what we're working on with Harness Racing Victoria and Harness Racing Australia is to ensure that the winner of that race is then afforded the opportunities as they were a few years ago, which is to get tickets to go to the Sweden Cup, the Oslo Grand Prix, and the Copenhagen Cup. So hit the Grand Circuit in Europe if the timing's right and the horse is capable and everything turns out. But the 2-heat philosophy, that'll more or less guarantee if the horses can win the opportunity or afford them the opportunity to go up and participate in Europe in races similar to that, because they've had the race experience down here, and from a European point of view, that's what's going to count going forward.
Absolutely. Aldebaran Park Murray Mile, it's a race that's very close to my heart because I'm on the committee at Bendigo, and a lot of people know that. It's had a great importance as far as getting invites. It will still fit in well with this calendar, won't it, going forward? It'll actually complement it.
Yeah, I'm advised. Whilst the programming hasn't been finalised by Harness Racing Victoria, because they've had one heck of a job with the regionalisation model and everything else, and credit where credit's due. I think we've all been the benefactors of that, both owners and particularly trainers and drivers, for a number of reasons. But no, the Bendigo track and its committee have pretty much slated the Mary Mile for early January, which is about 4 weeks, I think, before the Great Southern Star on the Friday night. So I think that, without saying too much and letting the cat out of the bag, the Bendigo races was the entree for someone to get an invite to Yonkers or to go to America, and I'm sure that HRA will be working furiously to ensure that those connections are had now that America's back up and racing. But I think that the winner of the Mary Mile, I think it's 11 or 12 years now, will obviously be afforded, hopefully, a free ticket to ride to go straight into the Great Southern Star, so we know where the horses are coming from, and there's targets for all these New Zealand and Victorian and Australian trainers to aim their horses at.
Been a little bit unlucky the last, I think it's been 2 years, Andy Gaff's horse, who's Tornado Valley. I'll be in trouble there because he's by Sky Valley too. I don't know where Sky Valley stands. Do you know where Sky Valley stands?
some little place up in central Victoria where fresh is best, but that's another story.
Aldebaran Park, if anyone's still thinking. Not being a great traveller, so that hasn't been there. But you just only still have to listen to Johnny Mead. Even Christopher Nosio, they didn't even get to take the horse over there. But just the way that whole trip worked out, it is something for young trainers that want to try and get a foothold in the world stage to get out there and do it. Races like the Aldebaran Park Murray Mile, and now with the Great Southern Star a month and a bit later, like you really want to get a trotter. You're mad if you don't get a trotter, aren't you?
Well, there's a feast of trotting races in the calendar, and if you look back at last year, we had the Breed for Speed All Trotting Night was the last weekend in February. I believe that's still going to happen. That's the Australasian Grand Prix.
Yep.
The week after that, you've got Menangle with the Miracle Mile in the first week of March. But leading on in that period, you've got the Night Pistol, you've got a number of other Group 3 races and the Dullard Cup. So I think there's a feast available early in the new year, and that was exemplified by the fact that Bernie Hackett brought a team of horses over from Auckland, Temporale and one of his other massive Metro, I think it was. And, you go talking to him and you go talking to others, and you talk to Tim Budd in New South Wales, and you talk to Nathan Williamson and that down in the South Island. I mean, there's, potentially in that period of time, including the race at Menangle, there's $750,000 worth of open class trotting prize money on the table. Which is an astounding statistic, which, at again, it pokes up and points interest for international people in Europe and America to come down here and have a crack at what we've got. And if we can do that, we may not get the best, but if we can, with the philosophy of the GSS was to always get horses ranked between 10 and 20 or 15 and 30, so that there was a stud potential or a massive broodmare potential upside if it was a mare that came down. So, for the young trainers and the opportunities that this presents, plus the fact that the Kiwis can get over here and race, the trotters will be front and square, and the pacers, of course, but trotters will be front and square for about a 7-week period down here in early 2021, let alone the racing opportunities that have been extended to us for juvenile racing due to the extended season with the Breeders' Crown and the Big Breed in November and December. So there's 6 months of just trotting extravaganza down here as far as I'm concerned.
A great mate of yours, very passionate harness racing person, and he's changed his business model a little bit, Pat Driscoll, and he's a good mate of mine as well. He's changed his business model. When you see people like Christopher Nosio's, but a lot of other people being able to access these well-bred horses, and there is no real excuse. I mean, you look at Chris's stable now, it's building and building, but there's other people out there that are getting these well-bred trotters. Even Fitzpatrick's have got a few from Pat and Anton and the likes. There's plenty of them going around. You look at what Lil's stable's doing at the minute, bringing horses like Robbie Royales and those horses. It's exciting, mate, some of these trotters that are coming out.
Well, we've done similar to Pat, I suppose. I mean, A, we can't race them all, and B, there's some genetic lines that we all like to spread around. So, I mean, we've leased horses. Aldebaran Zeus is with Lil's. I mean, we've got Diana down, Aldebaran Diana's down with Jeff Webster. Maddie Craven's got a few. Robbie Morris has got Aldebaran Ursula, who's the fastest 2-year-old race time trotting horse. So whether it's Pat or myself or other breeders, in fact, that are doing this, and you've got Pangrazios and other supporters of the APTS and the trotting breed. Look, the breed's just going from strength to strength, and that's what's this natural improvement, plus the ability of the trainers to move forward with the genetic improvement in their own capabilities is just really the focus is on here. And when you look at the export product that HRV have been able to send over to America recently, and you look at the volume of betting that's taking place, we've got an exportable product. I've said it for years. The Victorian government, we don't need a research and development grant. We just need access and some assistance to export our product to the rest of the world. And, from a point of view going forward, if we rely on international state-based turnover and we think that that's going to sustain our business model going forward, it's probably not going to be the case. If we can increase our international interest in our product through races like GSS and the ability to export pacers. I mean, Shartin's the world champion, and there are pacers up in America going gangbusters at the moment. So if our business model and our income streams can be 50 to 80% based on international exposure and revenue coming from those advertising and streaming streams, if you like, and if 58, as I say, 58% of our revenue can be coming from offshore, well, then I think we're going to be in a really great space in the next decade. And you know, it takes a while to breed a horse. It takes a while to get the horse to the track, but in 5 to 6 years' time, I can see that we're going to have equal genetics and a massive export market going to the rest of the world.
Did you see those two trotting mares yesterday? 150, I think they trotted. They were just sensational. Dexter Dunn drove.
Atlanta and Manchego, yes.
Yeah.
Look, that's wonderful. I think it's outstanding. But don't underestimate Maritime went 51.5, and that's what's on the bottom of that little plaque there. So, and that was 3 years ago. So we aren't that far behind them. And Menangle, as quick as it is, it's not the Meadowlands. So, you know, genetically, we're not that far off the pace. And I'm sure that when you see 2-year-old trotters trotting at Menangle, you know, baby trotters going 59, if we cut them loose and I know that there's some discussions about some flying miles for some juvenile trotters here in Victoria. If we can get those races up and we see our 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds posting, you know, 56, 55 times, which I think is genetically possible on the track, that they may be spruiking this idea, may be able to produce a track that can do that, well then the world again will wake up and see. And that allows us to then, and anyone in the industry, to then go to the stud masters in other parts of the world and you know, put our hands out and say, can you make available stallions to us, whether they be fresh or frozen. So I think that there's, you know, these are very important steps and very important linkages into the future maintainable earnings of our industry and the exposure around the world.
Absolutely. Robbie Royale, he stood the other day at the stand off 20 metres. I think he came off for Lils and trotted 159 and 7 from a standing start over 2100s at Bendigo. So don't worry, they'll sit up. Bendigo, mate, Aldebaran Park have come on board as well, and you are sponsoring our Trotters Cup, which I think is on the 27th of August. All going well with COVID-19. Obviously, it's a moving feast and the rest, but hopefully everything will be opened up and you've come on board, which from a committee person, I must say thank you, mate. And I think from a harness racing person, we must say well done to you. Your continued sponsorship with these country cups and these bigger races as well, as you know, hats off to you, mate. It's well and truly appreciated.
Oh, look, I think that, you know, it's not just me. Behind myself, I've got a staff at the farm that Melinda and Danny Thackeray and the others that work up there. I mean, it's a team effort at Aldebaran Park, and we'd like to look after people that look after us. And Bendigo's been a wonderful supporter of Aldebaran Park in both promotional and offering us opportunities to expose our brand there, and as of HRV and many other clubs, and whether it be, you know, Mount Gambier or Victor Harbour or SA Botra or New South Wales. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if we are one industry, we are one world down here, and it's up to the participants down here to each take, you know, pull the rope in the same direction and each take the opportunities when they're available. So whether it's our brand or we're promoting the drivers and the trainers and the horses and the genetics down here, I think that's our job. And if we can continue to do that internationally, then I think the benefactor is the whole of the industry. And we're just fortunate at Aldebaran Park, and me personally, to be able to, you know, afford clubs the opportunity when they come and approach us, and if it fits in with the theoretical exposure that we're looking for our brand, both nationally and globally, well then we're happy to hop on board.
Absolutely. You say about working together, it's one of my bugbears at the minute. We've got 2 sales now in Victoria, or in Australia effectively, because it's not just Victoria, it's affecting Victoria this year. Great news coming out from the AP Australian Premier Trotting Sale, APTS, for people that aren't aware. So preceding the pacing sale, so they'll be on first, which is huge news. There's already a strong draft going forward. They've had big news coming out with the nutrient sale and all the rest. What's your take on it? And personally, from mine, I actually can only reiterate what you just said there before. We all must pull together, and I think this is one thing that I think a lot of people may be just missing a little bit. But I think it's great that we're going to have 2 trotting sales, and they're going to be showcased, both in different ways, which is really good. But I was just wondering what your take on it was.
Oh, look, there's really 4 trotting sales, really, if you boil it all, 5. One's the open market, one's Auckland in New Zealand, one's with New Zealand bloodstock. The other one is NZB in Christchurch, where they've set up the standalone trotters section. APTS, as you know, was its own growth curve, if you like, which I was one of the founding owners of it, and then we passed it to HRV. APG have seen fit to put it at 11 o'clock in the morning, which precedes the paces. I think that's a really good move, and I think brand identification is really important. And then, we welcome to the market as an industry another opportunity for sales vendors to go to Nutrien, and I think that, I think that it's an open world. I think that with the increase in our herd population, there's opportunities to disperse your horses at times that suit you. And it's also quite well known that February's not an early sale, but it's early in the Southern Hemisphere, and there may be horses that are born or foals that are born later on that will have a far greater level of maturity to be presented at a sale with Nutrien. So I think vendors have got the opportunity to make their own decisions that suit their horses and suit their yearlings. And 2 months, a growth spurt in a yearling in 2 months, a lot can happen. So we welcome. Personally, I welcome Nutrien and any other participant in the industry. And if we're all pulling the same rope and marketing trotters in the Southern Hemisphere, then I think we're all better for it.
And I think with a lot of these announcements coming out, that's clearly what we've got to do, both with the APTS sale and Nutrien work together to promote the product that we have and the product that is growing so much. Monty Racing, both you and me have got ideas on how to get it back. It won't be, especially on Twitter, there'll be people going, oh, no Monty Racing, but there is a move to try and get it back. I have a little bit different idea of yourself. I think we should start from the ground up. You want to get the Swedish riders and that back. Between us and a few other people, we might be able to get it up and going. But it is a very integral part, isn't it? Even when you just watch Swedish racing, it's part of what Swedish racing is, and we need to actually have that brand here in Australia for ourselves.
Yeah, and I think that it's a difficult. There's no hurdles in Monty racing, put it that way, but there always seems to be. So I'll say that as a vernacular because I love coming up with one-liners. So if that's the new one you use, no hurdles in Monty racing, then we'll take it. But look, there's a reason that we need to get it going again, and I think that we need to clearly understand how it originated. I mean, I was fortunate to go to Sweden with Chris and Sharon Lehman when Sundown Skip went up, and we befriended people such as Johan, Jan Halberg and Johan and others up there. And I mean, Jan's at the University of Bongen where all the students go through, and to have the opportunity for those kids to come down to Australia was second to none. And that's where the Kima Frennings and others have been and come from. Stina and Mydell and a couple of the other girls came down here early days. That's been followed up with Marika, and obviously Marika Eriksson and her sister's been down, and Sophia Ardson's down here with Maddie Craven. And we had a couple of girls at Aldebaran Park over the last couple of years assisting with agistment. They've all come out of Bongen out of the university program up there. When Monty Racing stopped, that's why we started looking at what else can we do and to sponsor the Gold Locken, which is the junior international race series up there. It's going to afford the opportunity of one of the winning person in that to come down to Australia and experience Southern Hemispherical racing. So there is a linkage. But what you've said about Monty Racing, if you turn on the telly, you watch it in France. If you turn on the telly, you watch it in Sweden, and you watch it in other parts of Europe. And I think that the interchange and the educational opportunities for these young people, whether they be Victorians or New South Wales or anyone in Australia, and the opportunity to go up and race up there and learn. Maddie Craven's been up, as you said, Chris Finozio's been up, others have been up and had the opportunities, and I think the more we can get as far as international and cultural exchanges is concerned, the better the industry will be. And if that sees the reintroduction of Monty Racing with increased herd numbers down here, and that'll lead to more horses on the track, then I think we're probably going to be in a better space in the next couple of years to reinvigorate that international opportunity. And I'm sure that the re-implementation of the Great Southern Star to its original format will sprig that interest, and that'll facilitate that opportunity coming again to that Monty section of our industry.
Absolutely, and I think it's an area that we could grow a whole new audience. I've got a 14-year-old daughter, so you look at things differently. She rides 4 or 5 horses a day. She looks forward to riding Son of a Trump. She's trying to teach him to be a dressage horse and all the rest, but maybe we can get up a Monty program and the likes going for them. Also, thank you. I know this won't be, we said this is not going to be Santa Claus. We're not going to have it all in one hit. We've still got some big announcements still to come that with the Trotters and definitely with Bendigo and with Aldebaran Park. There's plenty more on the go, mate. But I must say, Dunk, thank you so much for giving me your time. Hopefully next time we might be able to sit down with a camera, mate, and a nice cup of coffee. We might be able to do it a little bit more civilised and go from there. But, mate, thank you very much for your time. And I just think it's so exciting what's going on with the Trotters, mate.
Thank you. And as I say, in the measure, fresh is best. And we're hot to trot at Aldebaran Park and get real support teal, because before we know it, we'll be back supporting the teal program, and we've got High Gain on board as always. And you'll be happy to know, and if anyone tunes into Poconos tomorrow, you'll see Aldebaran Walkabout running in teal wraps, and he's got brand new teal saddle plates and breastplates to go with him. So the teal flag's flying at Poconos up in Pennsylvania tomorrow.
I would have wore the teal hat, mate. It's just a bit fresh here in Bendigo tonight. That's also not quite as good as your office. Duncan, thank you so much, mate. And we'll catch up hopefully in the next 4 or 5 weeks, and we can do some more big announcements with the Trotters, mate. It'll be terrific.
Thank you for the opportunity to get Trotters out and in our marketplace, and to all those trotting enthusiasts. Now's the time to breed. This season's the time to breed. And if we can all promote the breeding of the trotter, then I have no doubt that our industry will be at the forefront of the world stage within 3 to 5 years. So congratulations to everybody.
Still the best value trotting stallion in the Southern Hemisphere, Sky Valley. I can't believe he's that cheap. Anyone wanting to breed a horse, it's ridiculous. So well done, Dunk.
Cheap, mate. He's not cheap. He just has a 66% fold starters to winners ratio and a $36,000 average winners to starters. So I think if we're going to spruik it, then Sky Valley, the sky's the limit. He is sky-sational.
There'll be one hitting the ground here. Thank you so much, Dunk.